Good morning, everyone. May I have your attention, please? We're going to go ahead and get started with our program. Good morning. Welcome to Waubonsie Community College. I am Nikisha Stepney, Executive Dean for Business, Technology, and Workforce Education. I also serve as a member of the Sugar Grove Economic Development Corporation Board of Directors. It is my pleasure to welcome you to the 2023 State of the Village. Please continue eating as you give your attention to our speakers. At this time, I would ask the Chief of Police of the Village of Sugar Grove, Pat Rollins, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. The flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Chief Rollins. The Sugar Grove Economic Development Corporation is proud to host this event. The EDC was formed in 2003 to promote the retention, expansion, and attraction of business investment in the village of Sugar Grove. So this marks our 20th year. I am pleased to announce that this year's event has set new records for attendance and for the number of sponsors. Waubonsie Community College is proud to serve as the event sponsor for the State of the Village this year. We are grateful to our sponsors and their support for this event. The general sponsors are Comcast, Engineering Enterprises, First National Bank, H.R. Green, Law Office of James F. White, PC, Old Second Bake, Rev Aviation, Rich Harvest Farms, Sugar Grove Economic Chamber of Commerce. Let's give our sponsors a round of applause. At this time, I would also like to introduce the EDC Board of Directors. Please stand when your name is called, and I would ask that you hold your applause until after everyone has been introduced. First up is Michelle Piotrowski, is our chairman, and she is the Senior Project Manager and Principal at Engineering Enterprises. John Meager is our Vice Chairman. He is General Manager at Rich Harvest Farms. Phil Hagen is our Treasurer. He is a Senior Commercial Loan Advisor at First National Bank. And Village President Jennifer Conan is also on our board. Please join me in applauding the EDC Board of Directors. I would also like to introduce the elected officials that are here with us today. Please stand when your name is called, and I ask that you hold your applause until everyone has been introduced. Jennifer Conan, Village President. Matt Bonney, Village Trustee. Sean Heron, Village Trustee. Heidi Lindy, Village Trustee. Michael Shomas, Village Trustee. Dawn Eby, President, Sugar Grove Park District Board of Commissioners. Tom Rowe, Supervisor, Township of Sugar Grove. Allison Short, Trustee, Sugar Grove Public Library Board. Jim Michaels, Trustee, Waubonsie Community College. Let's give these elected officials a round of applause. In addition, I would like to introduce members of the Waubonsie Community College staff that are here with us on today. First is Dr. Brian Canetto, who is the president of Waubonsie Community College. Dr. Diane Nyhammer is the vice president of Educational Affairs. Suzette Murray is the assistant vice president of Education and Workforce Development. Janine McMillan is the Assistant Dean for Business, Technology, and Workforce Education. Megan Jones is the Adult Education Data and Compliance Manager. And Suzanne Markin is our Workforce Education Manager. Dr. Brian Canetto began his career as the 5th president of Waubonsie Community College on January 30th, 2023. Dr. Canetto most recently served as Provost and Executive Vice President of Academic Affairs, President of Academic and Student Affairs at Grand Rapids Community College in Michigan. Prior to serving as Provost at Grand Rapids Community College, he spent 10 years at Harper College in Palatine, Illinois, where he served as Interim Provost, Associate Provost, Dean of Liberal Arts, and Founding Associate Dean of the Center for Adjunct Faculty Engagement. Dr. Canettle's first full-time administrative position was as an assistant dean at Moraine Valley Community College in Palos Hills, Illinois. Before his transition into administration, Dr. Canettle was a full-time faculty member in the theater department at St. Mary's University in Winona, Minnesota. Dr. Canettle earned a bachelor's degree in theater from St. Mary's University, a master's in theater from Texas State University, and a doctorate in curriculum and instruction from Loyola University, Chicago. Under his leadership, the college is focused on a strategic plan that reinforces Waubonsie as the top choice for learning in our community and is built on 3 pillars, which are student equity and success, community connections, and employee and organizational excellence. Dr. Canettle?
Thank you, Dean Stepney. Good morning. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, the students, the administration, faculty, and staff of Waubonsie Community College, it's my pleasure to welcome you to our Sugar Grove campus, the main campus of Waubonsie's 4-campus network. As you heard, I've just begun what I hope will be a long tenure as Waubonsie's 5th president, and I am honored to be joining Waubonsie and this community. Having worked at 2 other Illinois community colleges before spending 3 years at Grand Rapids Community College, I was familiar with the strong reputation of Waubonsie Community College. And I knew that Waubonsie was an exemplary institution, well-positioned within the community it represents to address the opportunities that face higher education. So when I heard about Dr. Sobek's retirement, it was an easy decision for me to apply for this position. And that decision has been confirmed every day since I started. I have received a wonderfully warm welcome from the employees, the campus, and the community, and a reaffirmation to continue our collaboration to move Waubonsie forward. I want to say a little bit about why moving forward together is so critical. In 2013, James and Deborah Fallows set out in a plane to visit small towns and cities across the United States. Now, James Fallows is best known as a presidential speechwriter. Deborah Fallows is a writer who also worked as an administrator in higher education. The couple wanted to find out what common characteristics made communities successful. Their travels culminated in a book called Our Towns. And in the final pages of the book, they identify the top 10 features of the 29 communities they visited that contributed to civic success. Well, it was actually 10 and a half. They found out that each of the communities had a brewery, and so they wanted to include that as a half a feature. Now, the Fallows did not visit Sugar Grove, but they discovered that one common feature of most of the towns and cities was that they had a community college nearby, and a community college that the community was invested in and cared about. The Fallows write, "The more often and more specifically we heard people talk about their community college, the better we ended up feeling about the direction of that town. A community college that played a key role in contributing to the civic and economic development of the community was a sign of a successful town." Now, you never had to convince me that community colleges significantly impact the health and wealth of a community, but the Fallows' work was further affirmation of the impact that community college and community collaboration can have. And Waubonsie has an outstanding reputation for partnering with and being relevant and responsive to the needs of the district. Waubonsie is able to partner with the community so effectively thanks to dedicated support from our board, the talents of our administration, faculty, staff, the wonderful students we serve every day, and a community who embraces us as the community's college. As your community college, Waubonsie is among the largest employers in Sugar Grove with over 650 employees currently working on this campus. Of those employees working at the Sugar Grove campus, 5% live in Sugar Grove, which means that nearly 600 people are commuting into Sugar Grove each day. And just within my first month, I know I've spent quite a bit of time in Sugar Grove and quite a bit of money in Sugar Grove, and I'm not alone. In addition, approximately 65% of our enrolled students from all over the district are taking classes on the Sugar Grove campus. This semester, that translates to nearly 6,000 students spending time in Sugar Grove several days a week. and the community and the college continuing to work together to meet the current, emerging, and future needs of our community will be so important to prepare for a workforce that is rapidly evolving. Higher education is being challenged to rethink what we offer and how we offer it. Our partnerships with our community will help inform our evolution so that we can continue to contribute to each other's successes. And we at Waubonsee have already taken steps towards our future. We are extremely excited about plans for a new career and technical education building. Current projections are for construction of this new state-of-the-art building to begin in April of 2024 and open for classes by fall of 2025. This new building will house our well-regarded automotive technology and auto body program, as well as our welding technology programs, and will allow the college to meet the demand for these programs and to expand other in-demand programs by utilizing existing spaces vacated by these programs in the new building. This is a large step, but only one step in preparing for what's next for Waubonsee and for the community. To best inform the future, I'm launching a listening tour with students and employees that will help me learn more about the college and to identify common themes that can inform future planning. In addition, I am scheduling several meetings with elected officials, education, community, and business leaders to hear from all of our stakeholders on how Waubonsee can continue to collaborate with all of you. I want to again thank you for being here, welcome you to Waubonsee Community College, your community's college. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Knettel. It is now my pleasure to introduce Village President Jennifer Konen. Jennifer was elected Village President of Sugar Grove in 2021 after serving as a village trustee since 2019. Jennifer has been a resident of the village since 2003, living here with her husband and 3 children. She is also a real estate broker. Jennifer graduated from Methodist University in North Carolina with a degree in business administration with a concentration in professional golf management. Please welcome Village President Jennifer Konen.
Good morning. You wonder how a golf professional ends up being a mayor, but here I am. So I'm pleased to be here. Thank you all for having a vested interest in Sugar Grove and making it, for many of you, making it your home. It's been a long time coming where we've been just rolling back from COVID. This is my second State of the Village. I believe last year it was held at the library with about 20 folks. It wasn't a big breakfast, but nonetheless it was recorded and put online, so this one will be as well. Dr. Knettel, thank you. It's very enlightening to hear what's going on here at Waubonsee in Sugar Grove. It's great for us. We're interested in economic development and growth. So we're thrilled for all the successes you have. They're successes for the village. Try to see where we are, Allison. So I'm going to ask that you bear with me for just 1 second as I give you a little bit of a history lesson. It's a very small history lesson, but it's a tie-in to the rest of my presentation. So the name Sugar Grove comes from the Native American Sinquasip. I believe in our village boardroom we have an Afghan on the wall that says Sinquasip on it, which refers to an abundance of maple trees that were originally found in the area and still grow in Bliss Woods Forest Preserve today. The trees have come to identify the village as seen in our village logo, but I also believe that they're a good illustration for what managing the village is truly about. You see, forestry is the science and art of taking care and managing trees and forests, and good forest management can make a forest more valuable, safe, accessible, and attractive. A couple other notes on here. Sugar Grove was originally settled in 1834. It was incorporated in 1957, and it started with a population of 125. This presentation is really about maintaining a strong root system and continuing to flourish. So as we go, we're going to talk about both of those things. Like managing a municipality, there are many components to good tree management. One of the most essential jobs is maintaining a strong root system. Strong roots anchor trees in the ground, creating the stability needed for trees to weather storms and grow higher. And as that is with the village board, and that's what the village board endeavors to do. ensure that the Village of Sugar Grove remains healthy, flourishes, and grows by investing in the roots of the organization and the community. This next slide is an indication of where we've been from our growth population. So we started, I think the slide indicates back in 1990 on here, with roughly a population of 2,000 individuals. Then it jumped into the early 2000s of 4,000 folks, and then it took, as you all know, a big leap during the big boom of housing market from 2000 to about 2007. So while the population grew 126% between 2000 and 2007, the Great Recession put the brakes on that. So we've only increased 4.9% in our population growth since 2007. Now, for all of you, don't be nervous, because any of you who's interested in investing in Sugar Grove, that number shouldn't be alarming. The history that I'm going to provide and what we're doing is the motivation to invest in Sugar Grove and move us forward. While this might appeal to some in our community, for the others, it's really a lack of that tax revenue and the diversified taxing bodies that is a concern and a burden to the residents and also business owners. We recognize, the Village Board recognizes that need for growth, and we're taking active steps to move us forward. I want to touch upon this slide in a couple of different ways. So without getting too much in the weeds, because sometimes I can do that. Our fiscal responsibility is really the key to the good management of our organization. And the general fund in 2023 was projected a reserve of 25%, and our future budget, which we're working on right now for 2024, is keeping our reserves at 27%. What that means is we have a reserve policy. Anything that exceeds that 25%, what we try to do is we try to move it into our capital fund so that we are paying for projects in the future out of cash rather than bonding. So we're in a good financial shape, in that regard. The Village Board this year with CPI, as you all know, if you're all business owners, CPI was at probably its all-time high for many years. The Village Board, because we're a non-home rule municipality, we're at a tax cap of 5% for property taxes. The Village Board recognized that we could get 5% this year, and we elected to go to 3%. So there's still a need for property tax revenue in the village, so the board did pass a 3% property tax increase. Why did we do that? And this is where I'm going to get into the weeds a little bit. So the 3% property tax increase goes into our general fund, which we can use for any expenses that we need. We also recognize that we did that. At the same time, we don't want it to just be an increase. This board doesn't want to just tax people to death. I think we all feel that. We decreased the water rate. So back in 2021, we froze the utility rate at the start of COVID. And what that did was, obviously, there was no increases. People were losing their jobs. That was not a good time to have any kind of increase. We didn't do that. Subsequently, people were home and they were using more water. So we found that within that fund, with our water and sewer fund, there was extra revenue. So the following year, we decreased it by 3%, even though we were approved to go up to a 3% increase. We went down by 3%. And the following year, in 23, we also went down by 3%. And we're considering another freeze, which is budgeted in the projections right now, of a 0% increase within the utility rate. If you look on the slide, there's a little note in what that means. If your property is valued at $391,000, that's a $14.77 property tax increase to the village portion of your property tax bill. If your home is valued at $754,000, the increase is $31.54. But because of the decreases that we were able to do within the water and sewer fund, you're going to see a $60 on average, 5,000, I was told by Matt, 5,000 gallons of water usage a month. That's our average user. We'll get you a $60 savings. So we've more than offset what we're asking for in an increase. And the reason we do that is because money that comes in through water, it has to be earmarked for that use. So within water and sewer is really earmarked for infrastructure and water infrastructure. Whereas if we have funds in the general fund, if I ever fell short within that water fund, I can always use general fund money to help cover that fee. So we're giving you a larger credit back, but we're still asking for a property tax revenue increase. But again, we're making sure the board is responsible to all of our constituents to make sure that you're seeing a decrease overall. Okay, I think I hit everything on that one, Allison. Next one, fiscal responsibility continues. So we saw revenue growth of 15.6% from 2021 into projected fiscal year 2024. And for most of you, maybe you're similar in that regard, our budget starts in May and ends in April. So we're in fiscal year 23. So as I refer to things through here, this is the budget that's going to close the end of May. Anything I earmark on 24 is the projected budget the board has not approved yet, but it's what we anticipate will happen. So the biggest increase in here is the state income tax, so about 40% higher than what it was projected in 24 than what it actually was in 21. That has mostly to do with the actual rate being increased from about $105 per capita to $155 per capita. So that's where our biggest revenue comes from. And then we had a small population increase. So in the last 10 years, we've taken 281 new residents. And so additionally, we're seeing those dollars fall on those folks. When it comes to sales tax revenue, our sales tax revenue is another big increaser for us. 32% has gone up. And that really comes from the Level the Playing Field Act. That was significant for the village of Sugar Grove and any village that's small like us that doesn't have a lot of business with a lot of retail and sales tax revenue, getting those packages that land at your doorstep and collecting sales tax on those items, it was a game changer for us. So it gives us a lot of flexibility in our general fund. Okay. TIF. Everybody likes to talk about TIF, but I want to talk about the village of Sugar Grove and the responsibility that we bear when we come to you and ask all of you taxing bodies to work with us. And part of that is knowing that we're going to be fiscally responsible. And when there is money left over in a TIF, we want to surplus it. Or in a given year, when we say that's not earmarked for anything, we know we don't need that, we have to give it back. So this year, in December of 22, we returned $1 million to the taxing bodies out of TIF 2, TIF 1. I don't know why we don't name them something different. But TIF 1 is the one closer to the airport. TIF 2, we do have 2 TIF districts, is more in the center of town. So we declared $1 million surplus out of that TIF district. And then 12 months ago, this time, but last budget, this time we declared an additional $200,000. So $150,000 out of TIF 1, no. See what I mean? I know them and I still mess it up. But so TIF 1 is the one by the airport. We declared $50,000 last year in January, and TIF 2 was $150,000. And what that means to all of you is there's different taxing bodies within the property. So, and a lot of property out in TIF 1, we incorporate Big Rock Fire Protection District and their school system. So it's a larger pool of folks that are in that TIF district. So the next slide is an indication of how that money was dispersed. So you can see $1 million went out. It was approved by the village board in December. It was sent to the county in December or January? In January. And checks were cut in January, and I think we got our check, I know, in January. So we like it too when we can surplus funds because we're a taxing body, and so we also get revenue that we're otherwise not receiving. But you can see the biggest portion on here in this particular instance was between the Kalen School District received $346,000 and Hinckley School District received $332,000. I talk about TIF specifically for the folks that dislike it. It is an economic development tool available to the village. And so we support it, I support it, when used properly. And I think what most people have an issue with is the way that it's been mishandled within Chicago. That is not the intention. I am someone who will stand here and tell you that I believe in every taxing district that is in that tax bill, and my job is to make sure that you're all getting money back. In some instances, we have vacant farmland that's not doing anything, and we need motivation and we need developers encouraged or incentivized in some way to get some property online. And so as we do that, I can tell you that I have made a commitment to ensure that any future TIF districts or the ones that we have are surplusing funds on a regular basis. So if there's any misnomer out there about waiting for 23 years to be paid off through a TIF district, that is simply false. That is not the goal of this board. It's to keep everyone thriving as we move through that process. Okay, so again, we're still working on our root system here. So what I will tell you that means is our police department. So this was a big endeavor this year. The village board in 2020, gosh, I want to say 2020. This is the fiscal year and actual calendar year, so bear with me. But last year in 2022, The village sold property that we owned at 160 Municipal, South Municipal. There were 2 buildings that are erected and 3 parcels, so future availability for development. We sold those properties and obviously with good intention. The police department needs additional space, and if you've ever been into the village hall or our police department, or if you've ever had a troop or ever had the pleasure, hopefully you haven't had the pleasure of being arrested and, taken in, but our officers are extremely sweet, so I'm sure it was a good experience. But there is not much room in there. And what the moral of that story is, they have been operating in that building knowing that there were future needs since 2006. Back in 2006, the village board at that time bonded to have blueprints drawn up with interest, to the tune of $1.4 million, to have very extensive plans. I mean, it had a shooting range in there, it had Sallyport, had locker rooms, evidence rooms. I mean, it was a massive building. That was at a time when I believe our projection for our residents or our per capita at that time was somewhere around 75,000. Marie Johnson would probably, about 60,000 folks. So it was a massive building at the time. Unfortunately, that's not where we are today, and the need hasn't gone away. So I think that's really the trigger here, is the need has not gone away since 2006. So we sold that property. So I go back to the sale of the property at 160 and 140. We sold that property, thank you to Mr. Rados, who purchased that property, finished half of the building, and is leasing that back to us. So the village admin and finance offices moved out of 10 municipal, where the police department is. We vacated the building. We've turned the entire building over to the police department with the intention of now retrofitting that building for their needs. So I just want to make sure, Allison, before you flip slides, that I look back at my notes and make sure I haven't missed anything. But the biggest purpose, as you can see as well, is the things that are needed. Obviously, we need to remodel the facility. We need to update the technology there. There's a need for locker rooms, still evidence processing. A Sallyport has been talked about. Those are the things that Chief needs. An existing building needs to function operationally with the best police practices taken into consideration while providing public safety for the community. I think that's the key component there. It's not that Chief just needs a building. He needs it to function for him. And you can vacate a building. It's like anyone who buys a home and goes into that home and you don't exactly like the way it flows and you remodel. He has essentials that need to be part of our police department, and so we're going to help him remodel. Additionally, investing in those routes again, maintaining obviously you're aware of the mandated body-worn cameras. We purchased ours 2 years early. So the mandate came down, you have to be compliant by 2025. Recognizing that need, Matt Anastasia, our finance director, went out, found a grant called the U.S. Department of Justice Small Rural Tribal Body-Worn Camera Grant. The takeaway here is pretty exciting. There were nearly 1,000 applications that were received in the nation. Only 21 Illinois agencies received the grant, and Sugar Grove was one of them. So it really pays off to get ahead of the curve. This was a 50-50 split. Gave us $22,000 in a grant, $22,000 the village paid for, and we were able to get 22 cameras. I remember asking a silly question, probably, to Chief, it's a silly question, but why do we have 22 cameras when we have about 13 full-time employees within the police department? And he reminds me that when we have to call in all of our part-time folks, if there were ever an emergency in town and everybody needed to come on, everyone has to have a camera. So we did buy 22 cameras that will take on and support our full-time employees as well as our part-time staff. A big deal. I know this is a stressful time of the year, but back in August, I believe they started negotiating contracts with the patrol officers. And so those contracts between our sergeants and patrol was first, and then our sergeants have been negotiated. We're now locked in for an additional 3-year term. As we talked about, property taxes increasing, everything is increasing. I'm sure you're all experiencing that within your business. Sugar Grove is no different. Payroll is increasing, cost of living is going up, and we have to make sure that we are keeping par with that so we can retain our employees. It's very important to us. So it's nice that they are on a 3-year contract, and we don't have to revisit that for a little while. So thank you for staying on board with Sugar Grove. Approved purchase of a security fence around the back parking lot for the police department. This was Trustee Bonnie. He's a K-9 officer, or is now a sergeant at the City of Aurora Police Department. This was one of his initiatives that he brought up when we had surplus funds, was really securing that lot, not only securing that lot for our police cars, but our officers' personal vehicles. And also, if you have a detainee in your vehicle, prior to us installing this fence, they had to just take them out of a car and walk them into the building. At least now, if there's ever a situation, they're at least in a locked area. So that's what the Sally Port is for. We didn't have one, nor did we have a secure lot. So that has been addressed. This year, I think it was last year, we were getting comments about the 4 police cars that sat out in the front lot, unmarked vehicles for months on end. This year, we're approving 3 additional police cars. The reason they sat out there is it takes an extremely long time to outfit that vehicle, and so Chief is waiting constantly for the availability to get a police car online. So you'll see me do the drive down again to Springfield here in April, and we will be traveling in style in our police car. Well, Matt Bonney will tell me not to worry about how fast I'm going. So that's the goal. I always want to know how to operate the light, because that's the only thing that's on there is just the one light by the front. But they've told me they can't tell me how to do that. At least this new car though has a cup holder, so I'm excited about that. And the other thing to note, which is really important, I don't know about other communities, but our community, going back to our fiscal responsibility, we have 100% funding for our replacement vehicles. And what that means is when someone's coming offline or a vehicle's been there for 5, 10, snowplows, 15 years, when they're ready, we are ready to fund them. So those vehicles are fully funded. Did I skip? Okay. And again, part of investing in our roots is our people. And back in, I don't know what year exactly, the prior years, the board authorized, the board froze a position for a patrol officer due to budget constraints. This was years ago. And as of last year, the need never went away to put that officer back on the street. And so last year, we the board approved hiring of another patrol officer and bringing that person back on. We had some ebbs and flows. We had an officer leave the community for a higher paying, position in a different municipality. But what that means now is there's, like I said, ebbs and flows, but really I feel like we're constantly working to hire 2 people. We have Juan Marino, who came on for us in 2023, budget 2023, but fiscal year of 22, right? Or calendar year of 22. And Casey Casper was a lateral transfer for us who came to us out of Chicago. And that last position, I know that the police commissioners met last week. I'm hopeful we have a lateral coming on board. If all is well, we will be fully staffed with full-time employees at that time if that position gets approved, or if that person accepts that position. Okay, so I'm excited about Sugar Grove. I don't know about all of you, but I love it. So we're investing in our roots still with the creation of an economic development department. And prior to myself and this board being in place, the village probably didn't have the funds to do it. We got a little creative initially on how we were able to move some funds. Like I told you, the general fund is great for us because we can do different things with that. One of the things that was happening prior to this was our road salt, which was about $225,000, is eligible through MFT, so it can be paid for a different way, and it was in our general fund budget. We needed to create an economic development department. Why did we need to do that? Because we've been standing still and idle for such a long time that without someone promoting your community and going out there and soliciting the businesses that you want, you're never really going to get anywhere. You're only going to see what wants to come to your doorstep. And a lot of times that's stuff that you don't want. So we wanted to take a proactive approach, go out there and hire what I believe is to be one of the best in the business, not a newbie to economic development, but someone who has an established career that somehow I could coerce to come to Sugar Grove And I have to say, I don't know how, Michael, but thank you for being our Economic Development Director and coming on board in 2022. But we are moving forward, and he is at the helm of economic development. So if you haven't met him, which I highly doubt that you haven't, but please come by and say hello to him. So the other renewed focus is on the Economic Development Corporation. So I know, Phil, you had said it's kind of a breath of fresh air coming into the EDC, and Michael, with all of his experience, has really been focused on economic development corporations. He's been the CEO of those, not necessarily involved from a municipality standpoint. So now he is able to, I feel badly for him, but he's kind of wearing both hats. He's renewing our Economic Development Corporation in Sugar Grove, and this is a product of that. So I'm grateful that he is able to bring all you professional business people to this breakfast this morning to listen to me rant about the village of Sugar Grove, but hopefully you use it as a great networking event, and that's really the intention. So beyond just future growth, it's retaining growth. That's a big part that sometimes gets missed. We don't want you to feel like you came here and you were neglected. We want to support you in any way we possibly can. I know that he's looking at a business right now that has maybe outgrown its space or is in multiple locations. He's finding them a spot because otherwise they might leave the village. So he's working on that as well. So that's really important. If you haven't met him, if you have needs, please get in touch with them. Here's another one. So Tony Special, our longtime, and many of you know him, longtime Public Works Director, just retired the end of January. And part of that succession plan was, we always knew, I kind of got handed him, but I'm so glad that I did, was Brad Merkel was going to take over. He was the Deputy Director of Public Works. He was taking over for the village. That was a long-time succession plan. So I would always ask Brad, well, what are you going to do when Tony leaves? Who are you going to hire? What's happening? I have to know well in advance so that we don't end up in a situation where we're short-staffed. And he said, his idea, I take absolutely no credit for it, he said, I think we should hire a village engineer. And I loved the idea. I thought, this is great. So one, it's a cost savings to the village overall, to our overall budget, but also it's a responsive time and services to our residents. And we can handle things in-house faster. And he also has a water, right? He has a water license too. So the person that's coming to us, I don't know if I can disclose the person's name. I can, yes. So I always ask for permission before I get in trouble. So Brian Scheiber is a resident of Sugar Grove. He started his career with us, how many years ago, Brad? In 96? He started his career in 96. So he's going to end his career here in Sugar Grove with us. And really the goal would be, we know from talking to EEI and our partners in HR Green that you all are struggling to find engineers. We did not poach from either of you. So I'm very proud to stand here and say that, although I wanted to at times, but we didn't. It wasn't a good plan. So we did find somebody we poached from other municipalities. That's what we did. But he wasn't being utilized to his full capabilities. So now he's coming back on with us. Like I said, a resident of Sugar Grove, knows the village well, is excited to finish his career here, and is excited about the development opportunities that we have in front of us. So I'm excited to welcome him back. He'll start with the village as of March 6th. So that will be kind of fill Tony's role. Brad takes over for Tony, and Brad has decided to bring in an engineer for the village. So moving forward, so how do we, these are all investing. We're getting there, folks. I know. We're building these routes still, but this is now Community Development Department. And what one of the major focuses was on our comprehensive land plan. So the comprehensive land plan was last done in 2005. And if you look at that plan today, it's outdated. Again, it was done at a time when the village was getting ready to boom, or was in rapid growth at that time, but really projected to catapult forward and still move. It's just not where we are today. Unfortunately, it's not where we are. I guess you could look at it fortunate, unfortunate. We don't have any stuff we're doing redevelopment on, but we are working on a new land plan, and that's been underway for over a year. I think the committee was appointed in December of 21, possibly. December, January, somewhere in there. And they've been underway. I know my first interview was in February of last year. So part of that was the 5 steering committee meetings. So there was, this, like I said, a steering committee that was appointed. They met with the consultants. There were 3 community workshops. There were 2 community surveys. And again, interviewed stakeholders. So this is just a picture of what it looked like when it went out on social media. I know it was on our social media page. It was on our on our web page. And I think it went out in an email blast as well. Investing in our roots. So again, I'm one of those folks that I see a water tower and covered in schmutz, and I call Brad. Brad, why does it look so bad? Jen, don't worry about it. We're taking care of it. It's getting cleaned. And I will tell you, there is a before and after. That's why he sent me that picture on my phone that day, is to say it's taken care of. And it looks so much better when we take care of ourselves. We're buttoned up, as I like to say. This is on a 3-year schedule. So all of those water towers will be cleaned regularly every 3 years. One of the big talking points in the community and throughout the Chicagoland area right now is water. So for all the articles that you're reading regarding water in communities that are coming off the deep aquifer and trying to tie into Lake Michigan water, we're not going to do that. That's astronomical and very expensive. But there are some communities in close order that have some federal dollars and some additional state dollars, and they're working toward that effort. Once they get off the deep aquifer, we anticipate that the aquifer will replenish faster and we'll be fine. But we still don't know that. So what we did is back in 2021, we approved a contract with EEI to do a water study for the village. Prior to that, it was done in 2005. The last water study was completed in 2005, and many of the recommendations that came out of that last study in 2005 have been completed. So now here we are trying to see, well, what do we need to do? Can we answer the questions? Do we have enough water? Do we have enough water for our residents and potential new development? Those are the 2 key components we need to know. Do we drill more wells? Are they shallow? Are they deep? Or do we consider another source? I know the city of Aurora has water. They use the river, and they're happy to sell us water. We don't want to buy water from them, at least not yet, but it is an option. So right now, that water study, I anticipate will be back in front of the village in April, second meeting in April. Michelle will be giving us a fabulous presentation. So for anybody who's interested in water, please attend that meeting. The other thing that is happening is introduce GIS water system valve location and exercising program. And I have to say, I saw that on a slide and I said, what does that mean? So for anybody who looked up and has no idea, I didn't either. But it's very exciting what our public works people can do. So just in short, we have 85 miles of water valve that our staff is responsible for. 1,034 water main valves, 1,122 hydrant valves, for a total of 2,156 total valves in the village. This GIS location system, the program that we implemented, is to identify where every valve is located. And then they have to turn it on and turn it off to make sure it works. And what that does is, if you know there's going to be a water main break at some point, it gives them the availability to close it down closer to the break so that there's not as bad of an impact, I guess. So the whole tank like we had in Pressberry doesn't completely drain out. But it's crucial. It's interesting to me that this is what they're working on. And it's for the betterment of the village. Okay. I had an insert that I don't need, so I apologize. All right. Additional things. So we have the sidewalks. For any resident here, there's always going to be little heaves in the sidewalks, some that don't qualify for replacement, some that do, some they can grind down, some they can lift. Our budget for years, minimally 5 years, and prior to that it was less. It was about $5,000. But probably in the last 5 years, it's been $7,500 of replacement sidewalk or jacking, lifting if you needed. But that was the budget that was allocated. We would get a lot of calls on a regular basis about this. It is a trip hazard. It's a liability. We want them fixed, but we have, I don't even know how many miles of sidewalk, and I'm not going to ask Brad offhand. That's usually what I do, though. But I didn't. We are now we have some surplus funds this year. So we just had a 6-month budget review, and a priority of the village board was to say, if we have extra money, put it toward infrastructure. So there were $50,000 that went in out of the surplus funds to make improvements immediately to the sidewalks. And then we're planning, it's a projected number, but an additional $50,000 of increase in sidewalk repair. So that's 560% increase just in our sidewalk maintenance. We also purchased a replacement snowplow and truck. This vehicle, should be noted, was replaced from a 2006 snowplow. If you ever see our vehicles on the street that time of year when they're out there plowing snow, one, they're dedicated individuals and they're out there making sure the roads are safe. You will notice when you leave the village of Sugar Grove and enter another municipality, based on how clear they are, how well they're putting that salt down, salt mix, because we want to be responsible and not have too much salt in our water, right, Michelle? But it is amazing. And if you ever want to touch a truck and come by Public Works, feel free to give me a call. I'll work it out with Brad. But the fleet that he maintains is impeccable. So it's the reason he gets so many years out of his vehicles. So he's not spending tax dollars willy-nilly and just saying, I'd like a new truck this year. He keeps those trucks as long as he possibly can, and then he will replace them. So we appreciate you doing what you do, Brad. Road program. So 2022, part of the road program was completing the resurfacing of Rolling Oaks and doing the microsurfacing of Meadow Ridge Villas. Back to water. So this project started in 2015, and it was really due to the nature of water main breaks they were seeing in Dugan Woods. So Phase Lane West portion was completed in 15, and then we saw a drop-off. So there wasn't necessarily as many breaks happening. There were still breaks, but probably budgetary constraints. Back in 2019, they started back up in Dugan Woods with another section of water main. The third section was completed last year, and the fourth and final section will be completed this year. So that's a total of $3.2 million just in construction. That doesn't consider engineering. So $3.2 million was spent to redo the water main and resurface all those roads, because the water main is in the road. So once that's replaced, the road is also done, which is great. So that's an added benefit. The LED streetlight replacement program. This is a nice program. We use rebate funds, and it's covered by the ComEd Energy Efficiency Program and the LED Civic Grant Fund. So combination of both. Every year we're taking on more streetlights and replacing those to LED. Do I have the year? So you see them there. 59 were replaced in 21, 113 streetlights in 22, and 105 are projected for this year. All using grant funds or rebates. This is how we continue to now flourish and grow and investing in our community. One of the big topics that has been on, I know my predecessor worked on this for a long time, was the Blackberry Bridge crossing over from Windsor Point onto the Gilman Trail. So it was an effort that took some time. We did receive a grant in I want to say it came through in like May or June of 2021. On a mutual effort between the Kane County Forest Preserve, the Village of Sugar Grove, the Sugar Grove Park District, and the Sugar Grove Township, all partnered on this endeavor to build a pedestrian crossing. And it's really about, even as if you've attended any CMAP meetings, it's really about making our community safer and more accessible through trail systems. We're still trying to do that, and so this is going to help, after a long-awaited time, finally get that across the finish line. So last month, the village entered into intergovernmental agreements, IGAs, with the Kane County Forest Preserve, the Park District, and the Township on construction. And then also the Sugar Grove Park District and the Sugar Grove Township and the village have entered into an IGA separately for the maintenance, for the longevity of that bridge. So we will be maintaining that ourselves here in Sugar Grove. So I thank those partners. It's now, I believe, in phase 2 engineering. So hopefully we'll see that completed. I don't know. When do you suspect construction? I hate to ask this question. It's very loaded, and it's never really accurate. 25. Okay, I got a 25. We're going to go with that, and then that way it's delivered by 25. I have two slides here, I'm sorry. Okay, so investing in our community. Now, these are the two sweetest little girls, twins, and I just adore them. They are Trustee Bonnie's twins, cutest kids going. If you can see in the slide, they have double blades on their skates, and they're just getting out there. They're 2 years old in March, and they're checking out the ice on a beautiful Saturday. So this was an excellent idea that came in a meeting talking about Kiwanis and a holiday in the Grove, as I remember. And Scott with our park district said, "What do you think about an ice rink?" And I said, "Oh, I would love an ice rink. How do we help?" And so it was a meeting with other agencies there. And all of a sudden, we all were raising our hands like, yep, we want to get involved. And so the park district, the community house, the township, fire protection district, we all worked together to put this ice skating rink into our community to make sure that the kids had something safe to do in the winter months and weren't off doing things they shouldn't be doing. So a couple of nice comments are, "Thanks for all your hard work. I know my kids really appreciate it. So much fun. Thank you for providing the ice. It's a beautiful location for it too." So again, I hope that partnership continues. We anticipate that partnership will continue, but it's a way to get more bang for your buck within the community. Also, in investing in that community, we co-sponsor the Groovin' in the Grove concerts. For any of you that are interested in that, they're in June, July, and August every year. The concerts, the dates are out there. I think, did I not put them in? Well, they might be on a different slide. I think it's in the coming slide, so you'll see those are coming. These are the concerts that we had last year. The blessing for this, it's at the library, so we're partnering with the township, the park district, the village, and the library on this endeavor. It's always at the library, and we had phenomenal weather in 2022. It couldn't have been better. Holiday in the Grove was we had an event that took a year off. It was put together by a non-for-profit and that, stopped doing it. And so the Kiwanis group decided they wanted to take it on. So they did, and it was an excellent event. Very well, very great. It was a great turnout, and it raised a lot of money for children. So we were co-sponsors not only with the Kiwanis group, but also with the holiday tree lighting event. And the village board, in an effort to make you feel like you're in a community, not just a drive-through town, but a community where it's the feeling that you get. That's the only way I can describe it. It's the feeling that you get when you're there. For me, it was, let's put some wreaths up on our tree lights, or on our light poles, and let's try to dress our community for the seasons at this point. We can afford to do it. Let's do it. It makes people feel good. So the village board did approve I want to say it was about $6,500 worth of wreaths that we will repurpose every year that go on Main Street. As we move into our budget of 2024, we're looking to do a little bit more when it comes to American flags and Sugar Grove banners. We want to keep that kind of thing up sometime between Memorial Day and Labor Day. So it covers Memorial Day, 4th of July, and Labor Day. We're looking to do that not only on municipal, but potentially out on Granite. So there's where the newer light poles are, where we can tie in banners. So we're trying to change it every year. Maybe the next time it'll be flower pots, but we're trying to address the community. The Corn Boil, again, we were a co-sponsor of the Sugar Grove Corn Boil. It was, considering the fact that they didn't have not their fault, but they didn't have a carnival, it was still a well-attended event. I think my favorite picture here is the barrels of corn, or the horse troughs of corn. It's just a nice opportunity for the community to come together. For those of you, the people that have been involved forever, and they need your help. So if you're a resident or a business owner that wants to get involved and donate your time, I know Jackie Link would appreciate it. She's in the room. Find her. They need volunteers. It is a week earlier this year. It's always the last week of July. They were not able to secure a carnival company the last week of July, so they moved it up. So it's they're 5 weeks in July this year? 20th to the 23rd. Mark your calendar. Hopefully you're not on vacation. Okay. This is a big one. For any of you who have children or grandchildren, you want to know that your Sugar Grove police officers are working with the schools within our jurisdiction, so John Shields Elementary and Harder Middle School, doing ALICE training. It's hard to believe that that's what our kids have to go through, but it is for their safety. It's an active intruder drill They're training those kids on what to do. And I know my dad used to talk about hiding under a desk, worried about a bomb, right? And, we worried about hurricane drills when I grew up on the East Coast, and here kids were worried about tornadoes, and now they're really worried about active shooters. So I appreciate the police department for your efforts and educating our children. And not only that, this year, I think was the first year that our police trained our staff. So I'm really pleased to know that all of our staff were also trained on active shooter. And I think next year they're talking about bringing in actual guns and stuff to shoot at each other. Not live guns, but like the fake Nerf guns. So that's coming. You got to keep it interesting. We had some highlights in 2022, two specifically. One, it was a short visit, but to the village anyway. I was happy to welcome Vice President Kamala Harris to the Aurora Municipal Airport. And in this picture, you can see our police officers. They had to keep that plane safe for about 6 hours on the ground. It was a hello. She was off in town and on her way to Plainfield. So I'm going to let you know, when there are events like this that happen in Sugar Grove, what it really takes to pull it off. So she did fly into the Aurora Airport on her way to a Plainfield event and then on to Chicago. Chief Rollins received official notice of the possible travel for the plans for Air Force Two and occupants coming in. I want to say, Chief, it was just days before they actually came, so he did not have much notice. Chief Rollins met with the U.S. Secret Service staff, Illinois State Police, the Chicago Police Department, along with a host of other federal partners. Chief Rollins coordinated with the Kane County Sheriff's Office, Office of Emergency Management, surrounding police jurisdictions, Public Works for creating safe travel route from the airport out of town and into the next community, who then took over traffic control on the route. Air Force Two, like I said, was on the ground for approximately 5 hours and was secured by the Sugar Grove Police Department. It was also nice the general public was able to see the plane fly in. They were able to get photographs. And of course, we got our name on the map and welcomed her to the village of Sugar Grove. The other notable was the Live Golf Invitational at Rich Harvest Farm. So they call it the Live Golf Invitational Chicago. I wanted to scream Sugar Grove in the worst way, but it is the Live Golf Chicago. It was held at Rich Harvest Farms on September 16th through the 18th. This was another one of those events that we had late notice. They had late notice that it was actually going to happen. So I think it's on my next slide, but there, just as a notable, Mr. Rich and Rich Harvest Farms has had many events out there. He's had collegiate national championships. He's had, many of you remember the 2009 Solheim Cup, what an event that was. But he's never really had the male professional golfers out on his golf course. And I hope I'm not speaking out of turn, but I always think that's been a goal of yours, Mr. Rich, is to have a professional event like that. And so this field had quite a few names that you obviously recognize. And so Dustin Johnson was there, Cameron Smith, Brooks Koepka, Bryson DeChambeau, just to name a few, Patrick Reed. It was a lovely event. It was a great event for kids. You never really get to get up close and personal, but it seemed like this, even though they're playing for big purse money, it was kind of stress-free for them a little bit, in the sense that they came over, they engaged with the kids, they signed autographs. It was a very nice family event, and you got to watch some golf, some great golf on a great golf course. So we appreciate that they hosted, and it worked out so well. Anticipated. So some highlights as well that they had on Saturday. They had 25,000 people come through the village over to Rich Harvest Farms on Saturday, and they had 50,000 people over the 3 days time span. They're looking forward to 2023, which I have the dates further along, but of 90,000. So I asked them today, do we have parking for all of that? So that was a big question, but they have no doubts that they're going to be able to handle it. And here's a perfect example of what traffic control looked like and our involvement. Chief Rollins had to coordinate not only with Rich Harvest Farms on security and logistics, but also partnered with law enforcement, fire service, emergency management, federal partners, private partners, Illinois State Police dispatch centers, Illinois Emergency Management, Kane County Sheriff's Office, IDOT, KDOT, Public Works, again, Rich Harvest, Par 5 Group, and LIVE were all directly involved in this. And I think Chief had about 5 months to pull this off. One of the very first things he did was contact the other 5 cities or 5 locations across the country and make sure he collaborated with them on what they were doing and what they were seeing to make sure that he had as much knowledge going into this event as possible. Also, the village, we care about aesthetics. We care about our wreaths. We feel we want you to be involved in this community, not only aesthetically, but from the relationships that you have. We were able to partner with Rich Harvest Farms on a public-private partnership to clean up the railroad tracks around Dugan Road. It was a dump zone. I don't know even when that all began, Mr. Rich, but of concrete and rubble, and basically you need a flagger to make sure no one gets killed by oncoming train, and Public Works Department was over there, and they did the labor to clean that entire area up. And that was all in preparation of putting our best foot forward as a village, and they want to put their best foot forward as a facility, and so it was a nice partnership. We, the village, hosted Food Truck Fridays. I'm passionate about food trucks. I think a lot of good food comes from a truck, just so you know. We will continue those. We're going to have 2, and I know that the Corn Boil picked up some food trucks this year, so we didn't want to overwhelm the community with too many events, knowing that they were doing it, so we're not doing it in July. We're going to do it in June, and I think, is it August, Danny? Where's Danny? September. June and September are going to be our dates. Those dates are to come. But how do we pull it off? Well, we can't do it without sponsorship. So I want to thank J&S Construction for sponsoring the food truck events, also with Four Seasons Landscaping. You just give us the flexibility to bring that in for the community. I know it's a highlight for most people. They bring their families down, they kind of picnic, and they enjoy spending time. So it's nice to add another event to the roster for the summer. Do I have anything else? Arbor Day. Thanks, Allison. See, she doesn't even click the slide unless I've touched all the points. Arbor Day. So for a lot of folks that, what do you do? Where do you plant a tree? We have a lot of trees in Sugar Grove. A lot of people will lose a parkway tree, and it was a nice idea last year to say, hey, if you are looking for a parkway tree, please apply to this giveaway, if you will. And then I think it was kind of drawn out of a hat as to who our winner was. And so that is the goal moving forward as well. So our Arbor Day tree was planted in Whinstone this year. But please, I think, is that gone out yet? Have we put that out? Not yet, but it's coming because Arbor Day is in April. So that's coming. If you're in need of a tree, we will be doing it again this year and giving away a parkway tree. Anything else I left off? Drug take back, Chief. Now, this is usually partnered with some of our legislators. So was it Senator? No, I know it was Jeff Kiker. I think Senator Severson was involved. Obviously, the Village of Sugar Grove. We have a bin within the village that I don't know that we moved. Is it still at the police department? So it's staying at the police department, accessible to the public. Still accessible to the public. We just moved, so that's where the box is. But there's, put your drugs in there. Don't put any needles. Don't put any liquids. Just drug take back, vitamins, that kind of thing. How many pounds, Chief? Every 6 months, 270 pounds of drugs are taken back and disposed of safely. So that's a nice program. I know other municipalities do it, but we do it as well. Okay, so this is how we continue to flourish and what has been happening in Sugar Grove. So looking forward to things. Lot 17, as we refer to it, which is in the next to Jewel. It's not going to be attached to the existing strip center. It's a separate parcel, so there will be gaps on both sides, but it is still a strip center. Lot 17 has 7,600 square feet, 3 tenants, and 2 outdoor patios. The 3 tenants that will be in there are Cold Stone Creamery, Bubba Coo Burrito, and Subway. So everybody always says, well, where's Subway going? Why is Subway leaving? The owner of Subway is building this building, and so he's no longer going to lease space. He's going to own his space, and he's moving his Subway into the new building. So we will have vacancy at his current location, and then it looks like there are, I think this is a building for 6, so 3 other spots, if I have that correct. 3 other locations still to be filled. So that construction is underway, and we look forward to that hopefully finishing up in 2023. Jim Rados, thank you for coming back to the Village of Sugar Grove. So Burnt Barrel, this is very exciting. I want to say he bought the bank. I'm not going to get the year right, but it's been sitting there for a few years. It was a spot for COVID testing at one point. And he has turned this bank and transformed this bank by enclosing the back drive-through area. So this was the former Heartland Bank. He enclosed the back area, put in a fireplace, garage doors, so in the summertime you'll have open air transfer through there. There'll be an outdoor patio. There's a banquet room in there. So that is exciting, and we welcome him. We always welcome new business, but I know the residents are especially excited about a new restaurant opportunity. So thank you for trusting in Sugar Grove, and thank you for making such a capital investment. I know that we will be there on a regular basis, especially Tuesday nights after board meetings. Okay. Also, Terramac at 550 Heartland Drive. They're a manufacturer of rubber track construction equipment. They're occupying 30,000 square feet. They relocated from Elburn. So we welcome them to our community. Rosewood Farm. This is one of those feel-good stories. She is, you talk about incubator space. She, for a long time, was spending her time at the farmer's market and selling her vegetables and that kind of thing at the farmer's market. She is a very talented individual and also a chef. She bought a property on Prairie and is using it for events, private classes. She sells produce. She has a CSA. It's a very nice business to have in town. If you're looking for a wedding venue, a shower, that kind of thing, please reach out to Julie Warpinski at Rosewood Farm. Deep Coat. Here's a good example of an industrial building that was built on Heartland Drive, 52,000 square feet. Deep Coat does coating and shielding. They're a manufacturer. So they were in a smaller space and they grew into a larger space within the community. So this is a nice way to keep a business in town. Also, this was not the intention, I think, of this business owner, but it was a car wash. That's why the brick is that. He was hoping to tie in and finish this space and just update it and modernize this car wash. And then as through construction, the walls came crumbling down and he literally had to rebuild the facility from the ground up. So this is a touchless car wash that is located on Wheeler where the old car wash was. Growing in the community, Dirty Paws was over on, Cross Street and leasing some space and has now moved over to Heartland Drive and is now occupying a much larger space. Nikki is a fabulous groomer and we are grateful that she's here and her clients are very happy with her services. Old Second Bank. Old Second Bank has been a staple of the community for a long time and occupied the location, as you all know, right there at Cross and 47. Through their merger with West Suburban Bank, they decided to relocate into that location, the West Suburban location. So now they are on 47, right across from Chase Bank. I think a nice modern update for all of you folks that were in the older building and moved over to the new location. What I love about it is we keep them, we retain them, we appreciate them, and they created a vacancy for new development opportunity. So we look forward to what might come in that existing location, or the old location that they just vacated. What's next this year? Live Golf. We'll be back at Rich Harvest Farm, September 22nd through the 24th. We look forward to that event. Chief, they're projecting 90,000 people. So we might need to up the staff. Okay, I'm losing Ramon over here, so I'm going to keep going. Food Truck Friday events are going to return. Food Truck Friday events are coming back. Reuven in the Grove's coming back, and the Corn Boil. We touched upon those. The dates are listed on this slide. We received a grant for sidewalks near John Shields Elementary School. Sadly, you can see the school in the slide at the north part of the slide, and you can see where the sidewalk grant has approved sidewalks on existing streets that have no sidewalk. So hard to believe those kids are walkers and there are no sidewalks there. So we look forward to that grant moving forward and putting sidewalks in on those streets. Crosswalk at Route 30 in Municipal for the residents that live over in Prairie Glen, or really the residents that live over in the center of town trying to get to the library, and these kids trying to get to like Culver's. It's an extremely dangerous intersection. I have seen people cross in wheelchairs. I have seen kids on scooters. I'm always fearful that someone is going to die at that intersection. So we know that there is a need for a crosswalk. That it will also help connect 2 bike trails that kind of dead end. So once that crosswalk goes in, the bike trail will be extended, so it'll be a safe route to cross that intersection, or at least much safer than it is today. Our road programs this year, for those of you that are wondering, I know this is a long time coming, resurfacing of Norris Road and then Windsor Point subdivision. So that's a shout out to Heidi Lundy, because she asked for the last, I don't know how many years, about when her streets are going to be done, and Windsor Point will be done this year. And then also any sidewalk replacement that needs to be done at the same time will be done as well. We have a 5-year running average on our road program, and we see it at $1.3 million for the next 5 years. A lot of that has to do, it's not just our dollars that are spent, but we do get some grant funding. So the Surface Transportation Program, STP funds, for this year equates to almost $576,000. Important for you business owners to know. So Comcast Business is coming to town, and they will be servicing the business. So you can see on the map if your business is located in that corridor around Jewel or on Cross Street in Maine, Heartland Drive, out by the airport, Bucktail. All of those businesses will be getting high speed, so fiber, through Comcast Business. And as the village grows, there's potential for further growth for Comcast as well. I'm happy to say MetroNet is finishing out 2 subdivisions in Sugar Grove. So Hannaford Farm and Stratford Woods are the last 2 subdivisions to receive MetroNet services, and they will start construction this year. And then we will have completed all incorporated neighborhoods with MetroNet service, available service. Town Center brochure. This was a long time coming too for us. This was about an 18-month program. I ran on this to develop a place. That's really what it is, and that's what I'm truly hoping to convey to you. It is the place where you want to be. You want to dine, you want to live, you want to gather, you want to shop. That's what I want to do. I know that's a lot of what my constituents want to do, and we just don't have that place here. So what does that look like? We got a group of folks together, created a town center committee. One property owner in particular that I thought would be involved, and we really thought would be, his property would be a perfect spot, which was on Galena Boulevard. He's on the committee, and we developed a brochure based on collaborative effort of all the things that our constituents wanted, and also what the board's vision, the committee's vision, was for a town center and what it looked like. This item, I believe, is in your program. There's a QR code, and you can download the full brochure. There's examples of the brochure at the registration table printed. It's also on our village website. So this is supposed to be a vision piece. This is not earmarked for any one particular property. It was designed that it can go in a multitude of different areas. The other thing I will tell you is I've gone through development in Sugar Grove and met with developers and landowners, and the one takeaway that I feel I've heard, or I've maybe learned through this process, is that we do not have a downtown. We have Main Street, but most of that has been now converted to residential at this point. We don't have a true downtown. I mean, even Elburn has a downtown, but that's a throughway too because it's on 47. A lot of communities, as you travel the United States, you will see that they are pocketed. So when you talk about CMAP bringing pocket neighborhoods and 15-minute neighborhoods, Sugar Grove is really primed for that. I feel like we can have a pocket here and a pocket here, and they're destination pockets, and they will be places where you can stop and you can dine and you can recreate, all of those things. But we have to start somewhere. There is not one perfect location. So if anybody says it needs to go here on this location, that's just not the reality. If you don't have a landowner that wants to cooperate, or a developer for that matter, who's willing to do it, it's not going to happen. So look at this brochure. It's exciting. I think it's a great opportunity for the village of Sugar Grove. I have to tell you, I had the pleasure of meeting Terry Frankevich, who is a leadership at Crown. She's new to that role as of, a year and a half ago. And I wanted to meet her because she was new leadership. The Sugar Grove has stayed engaged with Crown Community Development, knowing that they own 760 acres. So when I met her, I was hell-bent that this was going to go on Ron Cope's property. Like, we're going to get this done. I introduced her to Ron. We had conversations with Ron, and then that went south. That was like, there's no way anybody can make money, unfortunately, because of the land costs. So that was not a location. So we moved on. I took her and met her, with Dolan and Murphy. I'm like, what do you have available for us? And can I get Crown Community Development to invest in just the town center portion? I knew they owned 760 acres up here, but I wanted the town center. I didn't care what property it went on because it was the place. Remember that. It's the place where you go and you do all these wonderful things. And she was so kind to go and jump in this rabbit hole with me and be like, yeah, that's great, Jen. We can look into this. We can help you because what's good for Sugar Grove is good for Crown. She did it. God bless her. And at the end of the day, she said, they'll probably fire me if I buy any more land in Sugar Grove. And I said, noted. Okay. So long and short, we're working through Crown Community Development and asking them along the way to come back, engage with us. Now, remember back in 2019, they had a 8 million square foot warehouse distribution plan that the village was adamantly opposed to, and they basically pulled their plans back and kind of sat idle for a while. And so my job is to make sure that I'm engaging with landowners and finding opportunities with our staff for development here in Sugar Grove. So through that conversation, we worked to try to come up with a compromise that would work for the community. And they were, the market had changed. COVID had hit. The housing market was booming. So yes, we definitely have a need to grow our village from a residential standpoint. We think now is the time and we can grow residential. Great, this is going to be great. I don't know, 6 months into conversations, I went back to her and said, hey, by the way, any chance you can do a town center on your project, in your project? And I thought she was going to tell me no. I really did. I thought she was going to say, that's just not going to work here. And she loved it. I don't want to speak out of turn, but that was my takeaway. She loved it. So I'm excited to introduce the next slide, which is last week we were notified I think it was the 23rd, the Grove. Crown Community Development launched The Grove, here's the website, thegrovillinois.com. This is an indication of what they're trying to do. It's a master plan community. For a long time, I've said we can't just be one thing, right? We can't just say we're looking to develop our residential because then those burdens still fall on the residents. But we also need business, and we need a place to go, and we need a place to shop, and we need a little bit of everything. And like I said, we've been kind of still for a while. So here we are with Crown Community Development, back engaged with the village, and through conversations have come back with their website, which I encourage you all to go on and look and see what's out there, but also a proposed land plan. So their proposed land plan, this incorporates the 760 acres. So within the plan, you're going to see the yellow section in the orange on the south is residential. It doesn't say what kind of residential at this point, but we know that they're kind of thinking age targeted, single family, attached single family, townhome capability. We do want to create some density around the town center. So what's marked as red on the plan with that green space in the middle, that is near 47 for commercial purposes. That was a Michael. It needs to be visible from 47. So that's the proposed town center. And I remind everyone here as you hear me speak, nothing is set in stone. This is a proposed land plan, and it's not even a formal petition to the village at this point. The north side property has business park marked, as well as commercial property along the corridor and potential additional residential. So for all our real estate brokers out there, this 760 acres potentially can equate to 1,200 new units in the village of Sugar Grove. We need the residents, the school, for the folks that are worried about the school system. They can absorb, to a certain extent, they can absorb new residential, especially when a lot of these residents are age targeted. So they can handle that. I just want to let you know that, I told you about their website. And the biggest thing is on their website, you're going to see, last time the signs went in the ground and they went right to petition the village for zoning on their property with 8 million square feet of warehouse. This go round, they heard the community. I can tell you, Mary Oschenschlager spoke at Plan Commission meeting, and it resonated that she did not want trees cut down for, big box industrial buildings. Crown Community Development has made a commitment to keep the property that is near the tollway. It is forestry. It needs to be cleaned out. There's a lot of dead brush in there, so it needs to be cleaned out. But put walking paths in there. So the goal of this is not only to provide housing, but to provide recreation space, a town center where we can have outdoor Groovin' in the Grove concerts with an actual stage, where you can have restaurants and potentially create a social district where you can buy your alcohol and walk over to the concert and you're in a social district area so that you can do that safely under your liquor license. But it's the place. It's the place that you want to go eat dinner and then go for a walk. We're hoping there's about 13 acres that you see wet in there as a retention basin. So we're hoping that there's a need for fishing or for kids. I mean, see these things in other communities. They do these small little sailboat races. And so we need more things to do. My kids are getting older, but I left the village to do everything. I spent a lot of time at Blackberry Farm, and I'm hopeful that this kind of thing will bring more youth into our community. And I look forward to the future with them and what they propose. It's not a done deal. There's nothing finalized, but you should all engage with them through the process as they put out their dates. If you're interested, put out their dates for their engagement dates. And lastly, none of this is possible without the help of our Village of Sugar Grove board. So in here, Heidi Lendy, from left to right, Heidi Lendy, Jamie White, Ryan Walters, myself, Matt Bonney, Sean Heron, Mike Shomas. That is your village board. They are making great things happen, and we look forward to more great things ahead. So lastly, I think we have contacts on the slide, but I wanted to thank you all for your time. Michael told me from the beginning, Jen, 45 minutes, and I swore I was going to do it in that time, and I didn't. But I thank you very much. I appreciate your attendance. Have a great day.
Thank you, Village President Conan. I would once again like to also thank our sponsors. I would also like to thank our Waubonsie team, including Raul Martinez, that worked very diligently on this event. And a special thank you to our photographer from Caneville High School. Where's the photographer in the room? There she is up there. Nia Liakas. Yes. And finally, I would like to thank the staff from the village that helped on this event. The Executive Director, Michael Casa, Allison Murphy, Holly Baker, Terry Ferrario, and most of all, Melissa Pendergrass. Let's give the entire team a big round of applause. Thank you very much for coming. It was a pleasure to host you all on this morning, and we look forward to seeing you next year. Meeting adjourned.